Okay, so welcome to another little video tutorial. This one is particularly about taking a game to another level. So specifically saying, well, we want to level up our game. We want to get to a point where we reach a score and we want the game to level up. That might mean a few changes happen in the game. So we need to do a few things first so that it recognizes that when you get to a certain point that some changes are going to have to be made. So to start with, we're going to set a particular background for level 1. And whilst you've already probably got a background for a game that you might have made, because there's going to be extra backgrounds needed, we're going to set the first background to say this is specifically what it is, so it doesn't get confused and use a different background. We're then going to make a new background for level 2. And if we've got any more levels, 3, 4, 5 or so on, then you'll obviously want to maybe do different backgrounds for that as well. We're going to script some code so that it knows how to make changes when the score reaches a certain number. So that when you're playing your game, that if a player reaches a certain score, then Scratch will know what to do. It says, right, this is a trigger, I need to make some changes. Then the fourth one is what are the changes, what are they going to be? So we have to script or code some changes. And we might do some things like, as I said before, change the background. We might change a sprite. We might say, okay, I want its size to be different. For example, the ball in pong might be smaller or larger, or the paddles might be smaller. I don't know. And opacity, which is another word for being able to see through something. So when something has an opacity set, it will either be fade in or faded out, or you can always leave something faded out. So it's there, but you just can't see it anymore. So it doesn't really matter in the game. So opacity is all about being able to see it or perhaps hiding something. And then finally, speed. We're going to change something to do with speed. So maybe in Pong, again, the ball might move a little bit faster. So we're going to look at these things, make some changes. So we'll switch over to Scratch and start playing with it and making it better. Okay, so here we are in Scratch. And to make a start, we're going to need to create a second backdrop, something that shows that we're on level 2. So here's my first backdrop. Clicked on backdrops up here. So I'm on my first backdrop. Now I'm going to relabel this one because I want to be really clear with my labeling. So I'm going to call this one level 1. And personal habit, I don't use any spaces in my names. I think spaces lead to trouble. So I'm going to leave any spaces out. So there's level 1. But I'm going to need a new backdrop. And I'm going to grab this one down here called stars. Of course, you can choose whichever one you like. And it's very important that my next backdrop follows the first one. So it's called stars. I'm going to label it level 2. Now you might think that if you want level 3, level 4 and so on, you'll add them all, but make sure that they do go in the correct order. 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So now that I've got my backdrop, there's a few things I'm going to have to do with my code. Head back to the ball. I'm going to use the ball as the main place to keep all the code that I really need. So the problem is, if I was to play a game and I am on level 2 with my stars and I go to play a game again, I need it to go back to black. I need it to change back from stars back to the original level 1 background. So I'm going to need a little bit of code that says when I start this game, I need the background to be at level 1. There's a few other things that we need to do as well that when we start the game to say here we're starting a new game. But first of all, when I click the green flag, we're going to need to set the background. So switch backdrop to, and we're going to set that to level 1. So straight away when we start the game, it switches it to level 1. The other thing I want is, because I'm going to plan on changing the size of the ball. My ball is going to get a little bit smaller through the levels, so I want to change it. So at the very start, I would like the ball to be at 100%. So I've gone set size to 100%. So when I click the flag, it starts the background at level 1. The ball is set to 100%. Now this setting things to 100% is really important because I'm planning on setting the ball to 100%, and making it go smaller, but I'm also planning on doing the same for my paddles as well. So over here, I'm going to grab exactly the same piece of code. For my red paddle, set the size to 100%. And for my green paddle, set the size to 100%. You'll notice that I'm putting it on when I receive start, that broadcast. It shows it and sets it to 100%. So that's the game underway. So now what I need is a little bit of code that says when I get to a certain score, things are going to change. So back in the ball sprite, I'm going to head over to my events and grab another when the green flag is clicked. With this, I'm going to start introducing a control called wait until. And I'll pop that in there. Now you're going to notice that wait until has got a space that's sort of shaped almost like a diamond, but with long edges. So it fits particular things, which are operators. And here they are here. Now these look a little bit complicated, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an operator that's this one. It's another one of these diamondy looking shapes, and another one. So I'll pop that into there, and it fits in just nicely. So I've got some spaces in here. Now what I'm going to do, my game is going to say that when player 1 or player 2 gets a score of greater than 5, the game will level up. So when anyone gets 6 or higher, it levels up. So I'm going to need this guy here, which is the greater than sign, and I'm going to pop it into there. And I'm going to say, back in my data, that when player 1 is greater than 5, something's going to happen. But I need to do exactly the same thing for player 2, because I want it to work that if any player gets to the score of greater than 5. So again, data player 2 is greater than 5. Okay, so what's it saying? When the green flag is clicked, don't do anything, just wait until player 1 is greater than 5 or player 2 is greater than 5. When you do that, I want some things to happen. Now I'm going to use broadcasting again to make these things happen, because it just means I can tie in lots of things with the broadcast. So I'm going to say, I want you to broadcast not the word start, but a new message. And I'm going to call it next level. And go, okay. So when we get to greater than 5, broadcast next level. But I'm also going to broadcast something else. And this one is going to be set level 2. So it's basically broadcasting 2 things. All right, it might sound a little bit complicated, but stick with it. When I receive, so back into my broadcasts, when I receive next level, this is where we're going to get it to switch the backdrop. So it's saying, okay, you've got greater than 5, you're going to broadcast next level. Okay, when I receive next level, I want to change some things. I want to switch the backdrop to next backdrop. Now you'll notice that we're using next level, because if I wanted to have level 3 or level 4 or level 5, I only ever have to tell it to go to this when I receive next level. It will do this bit of instruction for me. Now I'm going to play a sound. I'm going to play a sound called, let's grab this one. I've chosen Space Ripple. You might want to go over to your sounds. There it is. You might want to head over to your sounds and choose a particular sound. Okay, so when the green flag is clicked, any player gets greater than 5, broadcast next level. When I receive next level, you're going to switch the backdrop and play the sound. Cool. But I want some changes to happen. So I'm going to head over to my events again, because you'll notice I've got a different broadcast, set level 2. So I'm going to grab this one. Oops, not that one. When I receive set level 2, I'm going to need a bit of a loop. And this loop being a forever loop, because I can then change the size of some things. So this is where I want the ball, because I'm in the ball sprite, is going to change its size. If I go to looks, set size to 100%, well, I actually want it a bit smaller. I want it to 80%. And I also want the ball to move a little bit faster. So everything at the moment is move 5 steps, move 5 steps. Well, I don't want to move 5 steps. I'm going to get it to move a little bit faster. So I'm going to have move 5.5 steps. You might be able to play around with this. I think 6 steps might be a bit too quick. Okay, so let's just see how this looks so far. I'm predicting that when this plays, when I get to a score of greater than 5, it's going to broadcast any of the players. It's going to broadcast next level, which means it will switch the backdrop to the next one, and it will play a sound, which should be the stars, by the way. It's also going to broadcast set level 2, which means the size of the ball should go to 80%, which is a bit smaller, and it should move a little bit faster. Let's give it a go. Oh, and by the way, when I click the start button, my ball should be set to 100%, and my backdrop should be set to level 1, which is all black. So here we go. I've got my start button, click start, and away it goes. And of course it would go straight up and down. Now I'm going to be doing this so that it hits. I want it to hit. I'm not winning so far. I actually want it to hit the backdrop. There we go. 1. Okay, so now my player 1's on score of 5. So when the next score for player 1, if I can make it do it, there we go. All right. Looks good. Played a sound. The ball's gone a bit smaller. It's certainly moving faster. So everything is working so far. I'll just hit stop. Okay, so we want to get our paddles to become a little bit smaller as well. So I'm going to head over to my red paddle, and remember I created these broadcasts in ball that said set level 2. So that broadcast is going to help me. Over in events, I'm going to receive that broadcast, set level 2. And I'm going to make it so that the paddle changes its size, or sets its size to, I'll go 80%. So that's a little bit smaller. Now you guys might be familiar with using your backpack down here, because I want the same for my green paddle. Look, I could very easily just copy that bit of code in the green paddle, but because I've got a backpack, I may as well drag it in there as well. So that for both the red and the green paddle, they'll now set to 80% their size. Let's test it out. I hit the green flag, it should go black. Everything should be set to 100% size and ready to play. Looks good so far. Hit start. And there it is. So we're working away. Let's get this score up to 5. Okay, so player 1's got a score of, player 2's got a score of 5. And there we go. Now if I hit stop, you'll notice the ball did move faster. The paddles have gone a little bit smaller, and so has the ball. So that's worked. I've now got my level 2. Looks pretty good. Happy with that. Okay, so if I really wanted to trick this thing up and go into a level 3, I'm going to need to have a new background. So I'll head over to my backdrops, and I'm going to need a new background. So what can I get? Blue sky. Here we go. Something that's a little bit different. But remember, I'm not going to call it blue sky. I'm going to call it level 3, no spaces. Heading back into the ball script. Well, this code here is what works out that it goes to level 2. But I need something very similar to go to level 3. So I'm going to grab my when the green flag is clicked. Now I've put this code in my backpack just to make my life easier. And I'll hook it on. So at the moment they're exactly the same, which is no good. I need this to wait until it gets to a score of, well, I'm going to say 15. And it's going to broadcast a new message, which would be called set level 3. Okay. Now you'll notice that when it hits 15 or greater than 15, it still broadcasts next level. And if I look over here, it means it changes to the next backdrop and it plays the sound. That's the reason why we have that broadcast, is so I don't have to keep repeating that piece of code all the time for every level. It just simply, it's one tiny bit of code that says when you hit the next level, do these two things. Go to the next backdrop, play the space ripple. It doesn't matter which level it is. Whenever you change the level, that's what you do. But when we get to broadcast set level 3, well, that's when we need to make some changes for level 3. So this set level 2, which is changing the ball size, well, I need to change it again, don't I? And speed it up. So I'm going to pop it in my backpack just so I can duplicate it. And I'm going to set it to level 3. I'm going to set the size to 60% and move it to 6 steps. So these are my different levels now. Of course, I want the paddles, well, they need to go smaller as well. So same deal. I'm just going to copy my code over. When I get set level 3, the paddles will go to 60%. And the green paddle, set level 3 and 60%. That looks pretty good to me. So if I play this, what I should get, if I go back to my ball script, at greater than 5 for any player, goes up to level 2, and it's going to change the ball size to 80%, move it a little bit faster at 5.5. When any player gets greater than 15, it's going to do the same here with the next backdrop and the space ripple sound, but it's going to set the size of the ball to 60% and move it 6 steps, a little bit faster again. And of course, in the red and green paddles, the paddle size is going to get set to 60%. Let's give it a shot. So we hit play. Black background, good, happy with that. Hit start, and away we go. So this time we're aiming to get to a score greater than 15. Okay, well that worked perfectly. So it's gone smaller again, the paddles and the ball, it's gone faster and the backdrop has changed. The only problem with this backdrop is that the green of the paddle is exactly the same as the background. It's probably not the greatest choice of background. Nonetheless, what we've got there are some instructions on how you can level up your game. So I hope that's been of help. Good luck and enjoy.